All right, cool. So I got my really good friend here, Rene, he's out in California, and me and Rene have been connected together for over 10 years now or something like that.
I'd say so.
Went through nutritional therapy school together and instantly bonded, and we have just seen each other through just the evolutions of ourselves and our careers, and we just always have great discussions. And so anytime I have any experience that I need some feedback on or some advice, I'm always hitting up Rene, and we just have these amazing discussions. I was like, man, we need to get on and just record some podcast episodes of these discussions because something good always comes out of it. He always has great insights. So yeah, good to have you here, man. I think a good first step would be like, who the heck are you? Like,
Great question. I'm working on it. No, basically, I'm born and raised in Switzerland. That explains my accent. And I came here because I married my wonderful wife, Miriam. That got me here. And
who I've met, and she is actually wonderful.
Thank you. And I think what got me started in digging deeper into nutrition was that I had a health issue. I had a cardiac arrest, and I raced my road bikes at that time. So
I
almost became one of these cases where you say, oh, he seemed healthy and he dropped dead doing sports.
Yeah.
So that got me scared, of course. And then, but the doctors told me, just give yourself a break and then continue because you look healthy. We couldn't find a specific reason, but I knew that something was off. And then my move came to Los Angeles, and I went to this chiropractor and acupuncturist, and she looked at me and she looked me in the eyes and said, "You need to change your nutrition." That was the first person that actually pointed to nutrition. So yeah, that's what got me started. And then I was able to do an internship at her place.
Okay, cool. Because I was gonna say, when she said that, obviously she made some recommendations and things, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
What did she? I don't remember all this. I mean, I remember it now that you bring it back up. But what was her either diagnoses or recommendation as far as like what did she see for her to say that?
I think she saw that my foundation was broken. She saw that there's no resilience. I looked healthy, but I wasn't on the inside, and for some reason, she saw that. And she was the first one to address my diet, which consisted at that time, from eating tons of pasta, maybe a salad now and then, some meat, but mostly pasta, carb loading every other day. And she said, you got to stop.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I stopped eating pasta, and I increased basically just real food. I think it boils down to.
Yeah.
And I had two reactions to that. I felt better immediately, but I realized how hard it is not to eat pasta, not to eat the pastries.
Noticed your blood sugar and your addiction.
And I realized, oh my God, I'm addicted to that stuff. Like seriously, I'm addicted because I found myself driving to her, talking about my changes on my way back, stopping at Whole Foods just to go buy a scone, and eat that in my car so no one would see it. And that's when I realized I have a problem.
Well, man, that had to make you a good practitioner because you saw that a lot with your clients.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so hard to. It's not hard to understand that you probably should cut down on that stuff, but then to actually do it, because so much is related to conscious, like eating and being conscious. No, it's attached to emotions. That's what I wanted to say. Eating is usually also has an emotional part to it. So that's what makes it so hard.
Well, it's both. I mean, it's there is the physical component where as you're adjusting and transitioning from a less appropriate to a more appropriate kind of real food based way of doing things, You have the physical component where, your body's still fighting to, have this energy source that it's used to, and you have this blood sugar dysregulation and, the hypoglycemia and those types of things. So you're fighting physiology, but then you've got the mental, emotional urges, cravings, addictions that we all have with, our various things. So it's like a double
Yeah.
whammy. Yeah.
Every time I was frustrated, that monster, that Shenpa monster, we called it the
Yeah. I
Shenpa.
remember those discussions. Yeah.
Exactly. So that monster came knocking at my door and it wanted me to eat something sweet and
Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a hard challenge to overcome.
Well, cool. Thanks for sharing that, man. I mean, that brings back a lot of memories. I remember in NTP school, you were the guy that was give grains a break, and for a while after that, like we both kind of had our journey transitioning off of things that we learned later were less than optimal, and just really fine tuning things. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. And to wrap up that story, I got interested in nutrition because I felt it was working. And so I signed up for that class and that educational program. And that's where we met in Las Vegas when the class came together.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, I've got some notes from this past week. Some of these things I've talked to you about, and some of them I'm not sure if I have or not. But I've always felt like we had good discussions around them, and I thought they might be good learning points for other people. I mean, who the heck knows? We'll just see what happens with it, right?
Yes,
Is it okay to like jump into those topics, or is there anything else we want to say in the beginning here?
let's go for it.
Okay, cool. So remember I had that kickoff with that small group. It was a mortgage company. I think we had about 15 or 18 people in there. And man, I really enjoyed it. I love these new meetings. So this was a kickoff for an 8-week progression. It's like a kind of a mini group, and so they're paying me to come in here. We're meeting once every 2 weeks, doing some live meetings. In between, we've got every other week a live virtual kind of Zoom Q&A, and then of course a bunch of support in between. But I always love these new groups because it's like when people are first exposed to the truth of what they can actually eat and what they can actually do and the way things are supposed to work. It's like in some ways it's almost like, okay, this makes so much sense, and at the same time I can't believe that I can actually eat these things. And just to see these people's faces with their just eyes wide open and like smiling, and oh my god, because I don't know what people think when they come to a nutrition program, what it's going to be like. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people think they're going to eat more fruits and vegetables and things like that, which we're not opposed to that. But it was so exciting. And I remember, like, you were the first person I called when I got out of there. I was like, man, I love this. I love being in front of new groups like this.
Can you tell me who was sitting there? Like, give me a picture of what was the audience.
It was every kind of person. Like, we had a back row. I had a guy and two females to my back right, a couple of people on the left here, and one of them was super engaged the whole time. Like, she was one of those, just like a smile on her face, and then talking to her friend. Like, it was just that I was tuning into her a lot because it just gave me a lot of confidence as I was up there talking. um we had some people that had tried things before and seen success. So I remember there's this one lady that had done keto, and a lot of her questions were kind of geared in the keto realm. And she was one of those people that went keto hardcore, lost 70 pounds, gained 50 pounds back. And so that facilitated a really great discussion around what we're trying to avoid with the whole perfectionist mindset and things that are extreme and restrictive, and they may get you results, but we want something that you can do for a lifetime that may not give you the results so fast, but it's also something you can sustain, which means your results theoretically can be a little bit more cumulative and permanent. So we had her, and then I had the guy that had invited me in there, and he was a previous client, and his wife, she'd worked with me just a little bit. Those are the people that really stand out. I had some people up front that were asking a lot of questions. It's great to have this diversity because you got the single parent mother, you got the mom that has kids, and the husband that does his own thing. You got the person who has the real food experience with keto or some other thing, and then you got people that are just completely brand new to this and never done anything like it. It's just super exciting.
Interesting. And do you remember some of the questions that came up during or after
Oh
your
yeah,
talk?
yeah. So we talked about a couple of them. One of them was, what do you think is the best way to work out? Because in this challenge, we're addressing these four foundations, and it's real food, nutrition, movement, mindfulness or mindset or personal quiet time. I think we're calling it personal quiet time, this, and then sleep. And so someone had asked, so what do you, what's the best workout program? So do you have, like, if someone asked you that, like, what would your answer be?
It depends. Isn't that the right answer to most questions?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, but what I usually see is I usually look at that person,
Mhm.
and when I try to use exercise as another intervention to push them into the right direction.
Ooh,
I
yeah,
give you an example.
yeah.
So if someone talks to me who is constantly stressed out and who
Mhm.
is grinding and who is running on her or his sympathetic nervous system all the time,
Mhm.
on her catabolic, side of things, breaking things down, pushing forward, pushing, I'm not going to tell them to do some endurance stuff.
Mhm.
I think you should then find out some stuff that counteract what their life pushes them anyways.
I love that. I love that. So in that sense, it really is very, it does depend. Like, especially if
Yeah,
you're listening to, their life and their lifestyle and their stress levels and all that kind of stuff. Like, I love that.
yeah. So
Love
to
that.
give you an answer, if someone is listening now and thinking, well, what would you then suggest? And I would say, go do sprints. Make it short. You should come home from an exercise and you should feel activated, not tired. So
Right.
if you come home and you actually feel like this should be the start now of an exercise, and I now feel warmed up,
Yeah.
that's when you got to stop. That's when you trigger an anabolic response inside your body, that pushes back to your stressors that someone might experience working a tough job.
Yeah. So you
Or I
want,
would say, yeah,
so what you're saying is you want to have a little bit left in the tank, and if you're pushing so hard
absolutely.
that you're freaking wiped out from it, that's probably not a good
Then
program.
you're pulling that person on the same side
Yeah.
that person is experiencing on the job anyway. So you
Yeah.
want to counteract that. And someone is drained, you shouldn't do something that's draining. You should do something that's activating, that's building up, and that's short form stuff.
Yeah.
Being it doing sprints here at the beach, which is not a problem at all.
Mhm.
Or if you hit the weights, it should be max weight, 2-3 reps. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my
I love
response.
that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Yeah. So the way we discussed it, because we had just before that, we talked about, like, what's the point of eating? What's the purpose of food? Like, this is a really good question, and it's like, we don't really necessarily have an answer starting out when we're there. I'm like, did we ever stop and think, like, why are we eating in the first place? And so we got into this really good discussion about, well, we know what we want from a nutrition program. We want to feel better. Most of us probably want to lose some body fat. Maybe we have some symptoms or conditions we're trying to work with or whatever. So that's what we want to get from it. But, like, what's the point from a maybe like a evolutionary or physiological standpoint? Like, why do we eat? What's the point? So we kind of narrowed that down. We're eating to give the body nutrients, and we're eating to facilitate the creation of energy in a certain way, something like that, right? So we had this big discussion. So when this girl had asked, so what do you think is the best workout program? I mean, my first answer to her was, I think starting out, anything that you feel like you can commit to and that you can enjoy, so that kind of falls in line with what you're saying. I'm glad you're saying that, because I'm going to remember that now. A very important point is that whole not pushing yourself too hard, especially in the beginning, because I feel like a lot of people tend to overcommit to things, especially they get excited about embarking on some health change and they just want to freaking just overhaul everything and work out 2 hours a day. And, you know, but anyway, so I said, well, how about, why don't we just apply this logic that we used with the food piece, and ask ourselves, like, what's the point of working out? Like, why are we
Yep.
working? And of course, most people raise their hand. They're like, because we want to feel better, and we want to lose some weight, and we want to get stronger, and we want to change our body, and it was just a fascinating discussion, because we were like, I didn't have an answer right then, but in my mind, I was thinking through some things. I was like, okay, so now we're back to the things that we want to experience from it, but what is the point? What is the point of working out? Like what
Would
just
could it be like it's functional? It has
right.
a
And so
functional
someone finally
function.
said that, I said, if we're applying this same logic, so if we're eating food, not for the results that we want, if we eat food for the purpose of food, that if it's the right purpose, we automatically get the results we want because we're doing it the right way. So now if we backtrack that and say, well, what's the point of fitness? It should be, especially in this modern world, it should be, I think, you can tell me your thoughts on it. It should be to build um, capabilities like preparedness, like you just said, functionality. Like the point of working out, because we are not forced to do these things on our own anyway. Most people are sitting at a desk, stagnant positions all day. The purpose of working out should be to increase functionality, to increase preparedness, capabilities, and things like that. And if you do that, then over time, it would do what you want it to do for you from a physical standpoint and a feeling standpoint, because someone who can do a lot of different things, deadlift, back squat, carry themselves, pull themselves up over a wall, or do a pull up. And, if you can do all those things, your body's going to look a certain way, and that was, I thought it was just a fascinating discussion. What do you think? Was that a good answer?
Absolutely. I think it's a perfect answer. And it clicked in my mind that, nutrition are the building blocks to repair and build. Well, then exercise is the element that then forces all these building blocks to work together and to
Oh,
create something, like then
boom.
to
Yes.
actually force these systems to, interact and synchronize. And
Yeah.
I
So,
think
so the working out, what you're saying is the working out is it directs where the nutrients go, and how the body composition is created or changed or whatever, because that working out dictates that I need certain, nutrients here, and things repaired here, and muscle here, and stronger tendons and ligaments and blah blah blah. Right? Is that what you're saying?
absolutely.
Dude, I
Plus the
love that.
intercommunication between all our body parts.
Yeah.
You can say, well, nutrients are going to your arm muscles, but then exercise tells the arm muscle, oh, wait a minute, if I move forward or I do a pull-up, like there's more involved than just an arm muscle. So I need to coordinate with other areas of the body so that we become a unit.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's so great. So great. Yeah. So dude, that's I love adding that to the whole piece of it, right? Because we're basically saying, if we want these different changes, first of all, thinking from a kind of ancestral, primordial, evolutionary, physiological, what's the point? And then now we say, okay, well, if we move in a certain way, it's going to dictate what the body does with certain things, and in some ways probably make things a little bit more efficient and communicate better and things like that,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Absolutely.
Cool. I love that. Anything else we want to say on that topic? Because I thought that was great.
No, I think it's an integral part of being healthy. It's
Yeah.
eating and it's moving.
Yeah.
Without moving, we can eat. We probably, well, that's just, I don't know, it's a theory, but we probably could eat the best diet we ever we can imagine.
Mhm.
But without movement, we probably wouldn't be as healthy as we could be.
Yeah, and we're not going to see the results that most people want, which is everything that we said before, the body that people want, the feeling,
No,
the health markers and things like that. We did kind of finish with, though. So then they were like, so specifically, like a body pump, CrossFit. And I was like, well, I mean, the intention behind CrossFit, I love the, constantly varied movements and intensities and durations and things like that. I think the theory behind it's great. And just like everything else, you have some gyms that are great and some that aren't, but body pump, anything more functional. But we kind of settled on, because a lot of people they don't have a workout program in place. I was like, I think starting out, like anything that you enjoy, like some people say, well, I actually do enjoy going for a walk, and some people say, oh, I like going to the park and throwing a frisbee, with my partner. So maybe starting out, initial advice would be anything that gets you moving most days that you enjoy, and then eventually graduating towards trying to join a program, or get involved in something that kind of focuses on functional movements. Well, does that sound like good advice?
absolutely. And I would add to that, just keep listening to your body, because things can change
That's right.
as it as it can with nutrition. We might start someplace and it can probably work for a while, but then maybe our body gives us signals that we should change or adapt a little bit, depending on the surroundings, depending on where we are, where we live, what we do. And the same thing probably goes for exercise. You start out where you think you should start, and maybe over time your body signals, hey, you need to adapt. Just listen to your body.
Well, and then you got that synergistic effect of the food with the working out, and then you feel better. And because you feel better, now you want to do more. I see that happen all the time. People are just like, okay, well, I got my little walks in every day and I'm losing some weight from eating real food and I feel better. And like, what can I do now? Like, I want to do something more, something different. So that's kind of what you're saying, right? Just listen to your body.
Absolutely. I would like to tell about one client I had.
Yeah,
she was heavily overweight and she forced herself to exercise. And I told her, because it was my firm belief, that no, just let us work on your nutrition, because I think if the body is ready, if your cells are ready to move, you will automatically develop the urge of going outside or do something.
Yeah.
And it took her 7 to 8 months of focusing on diet, not forcing herself to do something and to go to the gym. And then all of a sudden she comes to my office, she looks at me and says, today was the first day I wanted to go outside and walk my dog.
Oh, that's great.
Because they had the dog walkers, but it showed that all of a sudden when the body, cleaned up enough stuff that the body was ready to move and enter the next phase, the body will tell you.
That's so great. Yeah. So maybe a big takeaway here is, we're trying to incorporate all these different things, and a big part of it is some patience, taking things slow, working on something that's small but relatively challenging but doable, that is going to give you some results, and then just paying attention to how you feel and not trying to force too much at once, especially in the beginning.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I have more examples. For myself, it's good to force yourself to a program and maybe, kind of force yourself to go out and put your running shoes on. But if you start running and after 5 minutes, it still feels like I'm dragging my feet and it's just, oh my gosh, today I hate it so much, I stop.
Yeah.
I have no problem with stopping. I tried, it didn't change my perception. So I allow myself to stop because my body is telling me something.
Yeah, dude, I love that too, because part of it is sometimes you just have to make yourself do some of the things that you need to do. But then within the context of that, you want to listen to yourself and not force something past the point of like what feels intuitively not necessarily like a great thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes forcing something, is necessary for things to change, but you will notice.
Yeah.
Like if I'm dragging my feet in the morning, it's cold, and I think, should I go surfing now or not? But I force myself to go down to the beach. The moment I'm down there, I know it was the right decision. It was the right move, because now I can't wait to paddle out.
Yeah.
But if I paddle out and I'm still scared and I still feel I'm in the wrong place, like I said, I should listen to that and have the courage to abort.
Yeah. And I've had many situations, now that I think about it, where I've come in for a workout here, and most mornings I feel great. I go through the warm up, I'm like freaking ready to go, like my personality's out. And then there's times that I'm like, I'm not, and I go through the warm up and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm taking off, guys, and
That's
it's taken
so
a long time to get to that point, like you said, to have the courage, because sometimes your ego or what you think you are supposed to be doing, forces you to do something that's probably not the best for you, so.
Absolutely. And it's interesting for me to hear that you also have these moments.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not all the time, but like, I'd say almost sometimes a day a week, especially if I've trained most of the week and I'm kind of getting a little bit overtrained or worn down. I just have the intuitiveness. It's actually before I even step in the gym, but I'll probably go through the warm up just to kind of like, it's funny. Like I do it to test it out, right? I go through the warm up. I'm see if I feel a little bit better after I get moving a little bit. Sometimes I do, but if I don't, then it's like, all right, guys, enjoy the warm up. I feel good because I moved a little bit, but I'm not going to push it today,
Yeah. Would you also say then the healthier you become, the more rare these moments where you kind of have to step out
100%.
occur? Like
100%.
it gets more and more. The occasions become less and less.
Yeah, that's
But they're
fascinating.
still
It's
there.
like it's like health and training beget more health and training, because you get on this cycle of more energy, and because you're probably focusing on your sleep a little bit. Like if I come in and I haven't had a good sleep, I may be able to perform one day, but 2 nights in a row not having good sleep, it's like, but that doesn't happen that often either. So it's like the more that you focus on these little things, you increase your capacity, and then that capacity allows you to do more stuff, which leads to more adaptation, which, and it's not, this is, I don't think what I'm trying to say here is like the more you do the better, but it's just like the better you feel, the more that you want to do, or something like that, right?
Maybe it's also because after a while you get to know yourself better, because you
Yeah.
learn how to listen to yourself, so you make the wise decision to begin with. So
Yeah.
you might not go into the gym with the plan of doing a heavy workout if you already know, oh, I feel a little weaker today. So you might go in with an adapted idea that you then can push through.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pull out because you already adjusted your plan.
Yeah, dude, you're right there with us, because sometimes that's what happens. Like you go through the warm up and you're like, okay, I'm not going to push these really heavy squats. I'm going to do like, instead my version of it, some modified, now do lighter weight or do some lunges or something along those lines. So it's like, maybe sometimes you don't completely back out of it. You just like, you modify it slightly, Love that. Dude, this is good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful as a contrast of, oh, you're reading a magazine and they lay out the program that you should do, 100 push-ups every day.
Yeah.
And then you just strictly follow that program. I think over time you need to learn how to listen to yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I think this has been an amazing discussion, and I think we could keep it at just this topic, and we have our list of other things that we want to cover. And I'd say let's focus, our efforts on each one of those and make those separate little episodes, because we've got about 30 minutes under our belt right now. How does that sound? Because I got a couple of topics that have happened that we've talked about a little bit, and they're all kind of related with the energy, blood sugar handling type thing. So if we had to come back to this fitness thing and summarize what it was that we talked about as some takeaways for people listening, let's go through that. Let's see if we can summarize it together.
Yes, why don't you start? You're
cool.
a master in summarizing.
So the topic started with the question of what is the best workout? And so in our minds, we just tried to apply the same logic we did with food. What's the purpose? The purpose of working out and fitness should be, theoretically, ideally, to increase functionality, to increase capability, to increase preparedness, so that you can live a better life, so that you can do things for yourself, with your kids, with your family, so that you can be one of those people that if you're going on a hike and it's something that you can do, if you know what I'm saying, like it increases your ability to participate in life better. That would be what's ideal. But I think starting out too, for a lot of people, it may be a stepping stone to get there. Just something is better than nothing at all. So just finding something that you enjoy to some degree and that isn't too taxing. So that was one thing that we talked about. And then you had brought up listening to your body and the intensity piece of it. What was the piece that we can take away from that?
I'd say, yeah, listen to your body and don't force yourself to stick to a program that was dictated by someone outside.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen to your body and do what seems to be fun at any given day.
Or like you said in the beginning, maybe try to look at your life situation and balance a fitness or movement program with, what you have going on. So like you said, if you have a super high stress job and you barely get any breaks and you hardly have any time to yourself, like you probably don't want to commit to a super intense workout program. You may want to just start with walking, or wasn't that something along the lines of what you said?
Absolutely. So if your life is grinding, it's just pushing through all the time, then your workout could look like a stop and go.
Yeah.
And if your life is more of a start and go, you probably could use some endurance stuff, some grinding, some low levels, low intensity grinding on the physical side of things.
Yeah. So, thinking about ultimately functionality, but start where you feel comfortable, things you enjoy, assess your life, and try to see what would be a good balance with what I have going on and something that I could commit to, but it's not overcommitting. And then I think the last piece that we talked about was, as you get into this, just try to have some self-awareness, some body awareness, some, checking in with yourself about your mood, your energy level. If there's any doubts there, you can always, start the process. But then I love what you said, to have the courage to, if you get into it or you start to get into it and it still doesn't feel right, there's nothing wrong with either modifying things, making things a little bit easier, or completely backing out of it for the day or something like that.
Absolutely. That sounds genius.
Cool. All right, man. I think that's some good info. And I love chatting with you, man. So if you're okay with it, let's keep this up. We got some other topics. Maybe we can get together once a week and cover some things that have come up that we think might be useful for people listening to us.
Absolutely. That'd be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Cool, man. All right. Rene, thanks so much for being here, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you.